Hello. The Divine Code reading for December 16th, pages 383 and 384. We are in the chapter Details and Examples of the Prohibition of Murder. Topic number 8. In the above-mentioned cases, as topic 5 and topic 7, and these are cases where a person hires another person or has another person commit murder. Or did something in a planning stage toward, an action that did not actually kill the person, but tried to kill the person. However, regarding topic 6 above, that one who intended to kill but is not able to carry out his intentions is liable to punishment from God. It appears that a court or a ruling power, for example, a ruling king, has no permission to punish him for his evil plans, and that's discussed earlier in the book, part 1, The Foundations of Faith, chapter 1, topic 10. So if a person has thoughts of wanting to kill, they're angry, they have road rage, but they don't actually do anything about it, they just have a thought, that would not be considered proper to be a criminal case. It might be other concerns involved, might be a medical concern, but it would not need for counseling, but it would not be, that would not be a criminal case. However, these other cases might be a criminal case in a court, in the worldly court system, even though the court is not obligated to put the perpetrator to death. If the king or other ruling power decides to make a general law that allows for punishment by execution in these types of cases for the benefit and or safety of the society, they are permitted to do so. Similarly, if the court deemed it necessary to execute this more indirect killer as a special case due to overriding needs of the time, it may do so. So the courts, this topic here goes into a separate area of Noahide law called dinam, the obligation to establish courts of law. In the society has a requirement to make rules. They have a legal system that makes rules, things like speed limits. Speed limits are not discussed in the Noahide law, but for public safety, for the benefit of society, we have speed limits. So cars only go a certain speed, and it helps society function better. There's a whole myriad of laws or rules that society needs to live by, and these are determined according to need and according to the discretion of the local community as to how these are. These are not, something like a speed limit would not be designated as a command saying, okay, you can only drive a certain speed on a certain type of road. That's determined by the local system. And similarly, these rules concerning indirect murder, concerning cases of hiring somebody to commit a murder, these would be handled by the local community through the laws of establishing a court of law. The court of law is not just the court of law is the entire legal system, is what we're required to have as a society. So the court can decide how to handle cases such as indirect murder and hiring somebody to kill, those kind of cases. The court does not have the right to go into the person's mind who's going through anger problems and punish the person for that, though. It has to be something that there is an actual physical action is taking place. and especially if somebody died as a result of the physical action. If neither the ruling power nor the courts put such a perpetrator to death, since no laws have been made for doing so under these conditions or as a matter of policy, it is still incumbent upon the court to punish him severely or to imprison him for many years or to sentence him to different forms of anguish or in order to discourage others from thinking that they too could bring about the death of their enemies by more indirect means and be exempt from punishment. The Rambam, The Laws of Murders 2:5. So, in order to have a civilized society, a functional community, people have to understand they cannot commit murder through indirect means. And therefore, there has to be penalties of some sort concerning such actions as a deterrent for people to do such actions. Regarding a slain victim's relative with the status of Go'ol Hadam, that's blood redeemer. See or Shema Rabam, Laws of Kings 3:10. See chapter 4 below, and specifically topic 4, topic 3. Chapter 4, topic 3. Likewise, one who hires mercenaries to kill, but they are prevented from doing so, deserves to receive significant punishments from the court of law, even though he is not liable to capital punishment. This is said concerning one who has sent or hired murderers just one time or even twice in special circumstances. However, one who follows this path and does so regularly is considered a pursuer of people's lives, and the court or individual is obligated to kill him at any opportunity in order to save lives, as will be explained in chapter 3. And this was also spoken of in the earlier in the unit on fundamentals concerning a person that is harming society through proselytizing and idolatry. It's done because eventually the person is going to harm people. So in the case of the pursuer, if he is repeatedly doing this, then it becomes necessary that he be executed if necessary, if that's what it needs to be in order to get him to stop doing it. Otherwise, there should be penalties concerning this. If someone is hiring, even if when he hires the person, he has no control over whether or not the murderer is going to actually commit the crime. Actually, the employee is going to commit the murder. He has no control over that. Therefore, he's already done his action, and something needs to be done about that by the court. Something, in order to show that it cannot be tolerated in that society, and to prevent him from doing it again if he continually repeats it. This is clear from Shulchan Aruch Choshen Mishpat 388:15 and Shach there. Topic number 9. It is forbidden to murder any human life, whether it be a man or a woman, an adult or a minor, a free person or a slave, including at the hands of the slave's master. Rambam, The Laws of Murderers 2:10. Exemption for fatal injury of a Canaanite slave who survives for 24 hours applies only within the Torah law for Jews. So in the Torah law for Jews, if the master strikes his slave and the slave lives for 24 hours from the wound, it's assumed the master was not trying to kill the slave. But if the slave later dies from the wounds, it's considered an accidental murder, and the owner of the slave is exempt because it was considered accidental. And this would have to be shown probably in more detail as a defense in a non-Jewish court, to show that the strike was not intentionally, they did not intentionally kill the person. A deaf, handicapped, deformed, aged, or physically ill or mentally ill person. These are also, people are not permitted to kill anyone. That's just the basic general rule, unless it's in the case of self-defense, which will be discussed in a later chapter in this book. Min Kinuk Commandment 34. That's concerning the various categories of people. It's across the board. People are not allowed to murder other people unless it's a case of self-defense, or even an embryo in a mother's womb. See Rambam, The Laws of Kings 9:4. Or one who kills any of the above. One who kills any of the above is a murderer and is liable to capital punishment by a court of law. So in any of those cases, the courts are obligated to take action in those cases, and regardless of who the victim is, except, of course, in the case of self-defense, or also in the case of the blood redeemer, which we'll also be discussing in a future chapter. Concerning abortion, topic number 10. One who hits a pregnant woman and kills her embryo, as Rashi on Tractate Sanhedrin 57b, or a doctor who performs an abortion, by which process the embryo cannot possibly live. It will be possible to place the aborted embryo in an incubator and it will survive. If the doctor does not intend to do so and the baby is not put in an incubator, this is considered murder. See topic 4 above. So this is what's called the late term abortions, where if the baby was taken out of the womb and placed in an incubator, the baby would live. But yet the decision is made by the doctor, or by the system that's doing this, to kill the baby. That would be considered murder. Or a doctor who gives the mother medicine for the purpose of aborting the embryo or killing it in place, or a pregnant woman who took the action herself. This is clear based on the explanation in topic 7 above. I'm sorry, it's a later footnote. Footnote number 33. Since the abortion-inducing medicine will surely take effect on her body, it is tantamount to the case where one pushes a victim into a pit where he will surely die from hunger or lack of air, as explained above in topic 2, as explained in topic 2 above. This is considered direct murder for a Gentile. Although Rambam, The Laws of Murderers, chapter 6, differentiates between the murder caused directly from one's own power and that comes as a result of one's actions, the difference applies only for inadvertent killing and for a Jew, as opposed to intentional murder caused by a Gentile, who is liable for indirect murder. So in the case of abortifacient, a poison that is taken in order to kill the fetus, that even though it's indirect, sort of, it's still considered murder within the Noahide law. All are liable to be punished for murder in a court of law. However, one who hits a woman in another part of the body, which causes her to weaken and subsequently miscarry, is not liable in court unless he had the intention with his action to cause the miscarriage. And the miscarriage was inevitably a result of the blow. This will be discussed more in chapter 5, topic 7 below. So if the person does an action with if the person does not hit the he does not hit the woman in an area where the embryo is. He hits her on the back, on the upper, somewhere else. If his intention was to cause distress that would cause the death of the embryo, then he would be in, and his action did in fact cause the death of the embryo, then he would be liable for murder. If it was not his intention, then it's not. It would be like the case of a slave master who accidentally kills a slave, not intending it. And he would not be liable for that. He might be liable in the case of an accident, something he should have known better, and it was accidental. But that's discussed later in this unit. But it would have to be the significant part has to be that he intended. This is the case in murder in general. He intended to do it. He did the action, and the action caused the murder. Those are components that have to be in place. So the person who hits the woman in a different spot, he might be liable for hitting the woman, but he would not necessarily be directly liable for murder of the embryo. One who hires a doctor to perform an abortion is considered as one who hires a mercenary to kill, as explained before in topic 5, this is punishable by God. See Kima Parsha Shemot, paragraph 4, which holds that even though a Gentile who hires others to kill is liable to be punished by God, this only applies if the victim is a born person and not an embryo. In the author's opinion, this reasoning does not appear to be valid. So what's being said here is in this footnote here is that there is an opinion that would say that does not count in the case of hiring someone to kill an embryo, that the author of the Divine Code is rejecting that argument. So he's placing the hiring of someone to kill an embryo in the same category as hiring a mercenary, hiring somebody, an assassin to kill somebody. The court liability, as was stated earlier in today's reading, it would not be under the laws of murder to punish the person. It might be under the laws of Denham to have a civilized society that the person will be punished, but that's under the laws of Denham. Otherwise, the person that hires a doctor would, in this case, would be handled through the heavenly court and would be punished by the heavenly system. Thank you.